Good evening, guys. Oh, this is a life. I've got to be quiet. It's midnight. It's after midnight, I think. People are in their beds. I'm always quiet anyway. I'm in here every night, I love it. The pool's actually really cool tonight. It's cooled right down. I've got a wee can of apple ties. Oh, you beauty. 50 cents in the shop. That's cheap for Spain. And I know I shouldn't drink it this time of night, but it's refreshing. Oh, this is the life. So, I've been thinking. I shouldn't think too much. Do you know what I was thinking about? I was thinking about how times have changed. How people are never who you think they are eventually. And how the whole lockdown thingy that I don't like to mention has just forever changed friendships. Literally made them cease to exist. The things work both ways, guys. They work both ways. It takes two people to make communication. But I made communication all my life with my close friends. And I never ever hear from anyone. But that's life. They're busy. You know, we're all busy. But a text message, you know, every few months, every 6 months, costs nothing, takes no time at all. But it is what it is, you know. And I'm not just talking about my circle, I'm talking about in general, everything. Everything is so different. It will never be the same again. Never, ever, ever will any part of life as we know it be the same again. Let me give you an example. You see photographs, right? I've never been invited to anything in a good few years. You see all your circle at weddings, christenings, parties, 40ths, whatever. And you never ever hear of an invite. Or do you know when it all started? When I stopped drinking, you know, 6-7 years have passed. And the minute you don't socialise, the minute you are not in those circles, people will go, oh, we never invited you because you don't take a drink. Okay. But every time you ever needed me in your life, I was there, like that. Every time you ever had a problem that needed sorted, I was there, like that. But because I don't drink, I'm no longer worthy of your company or your consideration. We're using me as an example. This is generic across the board. People have changed. One thing, remember a couple of years back when it just started, everybody was going, be kind, you know, go shop, grab your neighbour some shopping, do this, do that. All of the nonsense, all of the virtue signalling nonsense. People wanted to be seen, to be helping, they wanted to be doing things that I'd done for years for people anyway. Help a neighbour out, you know, clear somebody's path when it snows, fix a fence, cut a hedge. Anything, right? Anything just to be a half decent kind of neighbour. And it's incredible how selfish people became. Wow, it's unbelievable, because I'm a people watcher and I'm an analyst of people. My whole life I've done it. I've analysed people my whole life. I've profiled them, you know, psychologically, whatever the term might be, in my untrained capacity. I've broken people down and I've looked at them and worked them out and who really is this person and all the rest of it. I've never been wrong about anybody. I'm a great judge of character. It perhaps is a gift, perhaps it's not, perhaps it's just years and years and years of practice, and it's probably a lot to do with putting yourself in precarious and dangerous predicaments where you have to know someone's next move, where you have to know who you are engaged with and who you are surrounded with. You have to know who's going to pull the stroke on you. You have to know where the danger's coming from. Yeah, there were times in my life, without elaborating too much, I was involved with some very dangerous people in some very dangerous places, and you have to know their next move. You have to be able to interpret what they're going to do, who they are and how they view you. In those circles, you also have to be dangerous within reason, or you will be a walkover. You will be taken on and walked over. And not a nice world. Never a nice world. Never ever a nice world. Certainly not a world that you would want your bloody children involved in or anything remotely like it. You know, some of the circles I kept and some of the situations I found myself in over the years in order to help or assist other people, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy, being honest with you, but I was always one step ahead of whoever was in front of me upstairs, and I was always working them out and saying, well, what's your move, what's your next move going to be? And luckily, I'm glad to say I was always able to see it coming. I was always able to see the danger coming, and I usually knew who the antagonist was and who would be dumb enough to make the first move. But horrible situation. I've brought that into the conversation as an example. It's not something I want to talk about at length. You know, it's a distant memory now. What I brought it into the conversation for was as an example of how I've been able to understand people and what it prepares you for. No shock at all. Never shocked by selfishness, never shocked by acts of you know, self-indulgence or self-serving, stuff like that. Never ever. You can spend 30 years in with mates and they'll drive by in the street and look the other way, and you can't fathom the reason, because you were only ever loyal to them and charitable to them and serving to them. You know, you were their right hand or their left hand when they were unable. There you go. People have changed greatly, and the whole virus thing, the whole lockdown thing changed people forever, in my opinion, massively for the worst. Why do I think that? Well, I think it for a lot of reasons, and I'm not wrong. I'm not wrong about it. No one will convince me otherwise. I'm not interested in listening to anyone telling me that I'm wrong in regards to that. I'm just not. I am 100% confident in my judgment, and that's that. You might not like the way I've said that, but there is no other way to say it. I'm not going to paint over the cracks and appease people and fall over myself to you know, oh, I agree with you then, you know, no, bollocks. People have changed dramatically. My phone used to go 300 times a week. Never to ask how I was, it was always because somebody wanted something from me. And I was very good at fixing things and all the rest of it, and arranging stuff and making people's lives a little bit easier and stuff like that, to the detriment of my own life and my own family and my own relationship, as is always the case. Hindsight's great and you learn the lesson far too late. But I learnt the lesson nonetheless, although it took me time to get here. I am here. I've arrived here with a full awareness and a full understanding of what I was and who I am now. That's why I'm able, with a true heart and a full heart, to say these things, because there is no way back. There's no point standing back in the shadows and bludgeoning yourself and birching yourself for past events. It's gone. any more energy spent on it would be wasteful. But people have definitely changed. That's why today when I meet someone who commits a kind act or a generous act, I absolutely love it. I literally salute them on the spot, and I make a absolute effort to acknowledge that person's action and say well done for being a human being first and foremost, and well done for doing it off camera or whatever, just because you're a decent person, well done. And I like to say to people, it's okay to give yourself a pat on the back for that. You go to bed tonight, you know, and have a smile, knowing that you brought a bit of warmth to somebody's life, because acts of humanity and genuine charitability and, you know, is that a word? Acts of genuine charitable decency are few and far between, and because everyone's now got a platform and a camera in their hands, and everybody now wants the world to know that they did this or they did that, and that's not really why you should be doing things. If you feel the need to tell someone what you're doing, in the sense that, I don't know, you raised this or you raised that. I raised a lot of money at times for charity, and I'll be honest with you, right, I despise charities now, because I learned about them. I was so involved with giving to them that I decided I had to learn about them, and what I read horrified me. The money structure, the share structure, the board of directors, who all gets paid from your donation before it gets to the cause where you intended it to be, or where you thought it was going. Wow, it's a paper trail and it's a messy one, but I don't want to deviate. I just don't like them. It all started with a large sum of money I raised from one of the fisheries many years ago for Macmillan Cancer, and they abused the life out of that donation. They really did. A woman came to me after the event. She said, I'd love to have been there today, Alex, and helped, but I used to work for them and I know how their money's used. She went, and you done so well, and so did all your guys. Brilliant day, massive donation at my first attempt, probably more than any fishery in Scotland had ever achieved, and they abused the life out of it. She said not even 20% of that will ever go anywhere, even if that. And she knew, because she was with them until she was disgusted and left. But that's another story. It's just another example of humanity being on the downturn. So I put myself in situations now where I really try to meet decent people. I've met a few incredible people in the mountains and stuff. Seen some real acts of generous, charitable, you know, well-meaning behaviour. And you meet an odd glory hunter as well, but I just avoid them. Just look the other way or walk the other way. But people have changed, behaviours have changed. We were talking about first footing at New Year and stuff like that. New Year's a load of rubbish, right? Nothing changes. But remember in the old days, getting dragged round the houses of the neighbours and staying up all excited and getting in to see people, and you maybe get a biscuit or, you know, a bottle of juice or something if you were lucky, if they weren't too busy filling their faces with booze. Things like that don't happen anymore. We've evolved so much in 15 or 20 years. I mean, just in my lifetime, the old traditions are gone, but people are gone, real people are gone. There are very few real people, old school people left. Those generations that came up the hard way are gone now. People don't have respect anymore. There is no respect. All we read about are abusive incidents and human beings being vile to one another. And hell mend and God help anyone ever, as long as I breathe, who, you know, brings anything like that to mind. They would find themselves very dead very quickly. Make no mistake about that. but that's a horrible thing to think about, but you know, that would be the only action that I would take. There are some bad people out there. I just always, I try and tell myself every day, I say good always beats evil. Every day, I tell myself it, every day, at some point in the day I remind myself, good always beats evil. Always. I tell my kids it. They probably don't understand what I'm talking about. They might think I'm talking about a computer game or something I've never been interested in. I wouldn't even know how to turn one on. But I just tell them it so that eventually it sinks in and it sticks. I say, guys, no matter what path you take in life, just always remember that good always beats evil. Always. I truly believe it, and I know there's a lot of bad in the world, but the good will prevail. Even if we're outnumbered 80 to 20, you know, 81, 91, 10 to 1, we'll get there. We'll find a way. Good finds a way. So I've been thinking about this quite a lot. I think about it a lot anyway, because I get saddened by what I see, but the past year or two I've become almost numb to it, and I've decided that I'm not going to let it affect me as much as it once did. You know, real bad acts of humanity. I remembered reading in the papers about a young girl in England killed by the horrible killer, the serial killer Levi Belfield. Little girl, and reading about her and what happened to her, and how, and I don't know why, right? I was in the services, I was a young guy, and it affected me, and I couldn't get it out of my head for about 2 years because of, I don't know, I just thought to myself, she was just, you know, say standing at a bus stop, and the next minute her life was over because some guy wanted a 30-second buzz. And I couldn't, it was such a shocking incident. It was so shocking. And now we read about these incidents all the time, and yet again, as human beings, we're extremely, you know, we bounce back so quick. We are conditioned so fast. You saw how fast people were conditioned by the fear factor during lockdown. All of a sudden you're reading about these incidents all the time. People, children being killed, horrific events, and you just become numb to it. You become numb to it unless you remind yourself about the good in the world. Because if you only ever think about the bad, believe me, you will lose sight of who you are, and you will lose a percentage of your own humanity, regardless of what you think. You will. It's like I always say about being surrounded, you know, by the right people, and if they're not the right people, then surround yourself with no one, because you become an average of what you're surrounded by. If there's 6 people in your circle and 5 of them are scumbags, it's rubbing off on you. If there's 6 people in your circle and 4 of them are decent and only 2 of them are scumbags, there's a chance you might just scrape by with a little bit of tarnishing, but believe me, some of their traits will palm off on you, and it sticks. So the answer there is not to surround yourself with anyone who in any way, shape or form can dilute your brand. Don't allow it. Why would you allow it? If you've worked hard in life to get anywhere, why would you allow it? You know, I had a good run at business, at being self-employed, at looking after my own things, right up until COVID took a massive part of the past 5-10 years of my working life. So through, you know, circumstance and no fault of my own, or some of my fault, or blame whoever you want, you know, you lose something and you lose sight, and it'd be very easy for me to cry about it and roll over and go, oh, that's it, I'm giving up, I'm not going through all that again to get there. I am absolutely going through it again, and the wheels are in motion just now for my next evolution and my next reinvention, and I'm the Renaissance man. I've reinvented myself many times in life. Every 3 or 4 years I'm into another project, something else, you know, and I'm always looking for the next thing. And I've lost, believe me, I lost some huge investments the past couple of years with figures that would make your eyes water. And it's personal. It's not really anyone's business, it's my business. Only a number of people, less than 3, actually probably have any idea about what I lost. But that's what it is. I've got time to come again, you know. It might not be the original plan, which to hit the big numbers when I was by 30, which I did well by. I was 30. I wanted to hit a certain amount of numbers by 35, you know, I was there or there around. And by 40 I wanted to be on the downward trajectory of starting to enjoy myself, and then things happened like what we've experienced the past couple of years. But in all of this, in all of these events, and all of these, you know, trajectories of success and failure, of everything, there is one repetitive, you know, thing that keeps on rearing its head, which is the ever changing, the ever decaying, the ever lessening, I can't even think of the words, of people. People are just getting lesser. They're becoming lesser and lesser like people, and they're becoming more and more like a negative entity that you do not want around you. And you would think, being a human being, that you always want people around you, or you would always want to be at least attached to or surrounded by human beings. But the more I see of them, the more I don't want to know them. It's getting terrible what goes on. And with everything that's happened the past few years, you truly see who makes the effort. You truly see who comes out of the woodwork when the chips are down to say, are you alright? Do you need anything? Can I do anything for you? You did this for me, you did that for me, can I do anything for you now? How can I say this without saying it? No one came for me. No one, not one. But that's life. My closest mate, he doesn't count in that equation because he had a world of shit going on in his own life. And he's always been there for me. But we're distant now because he had a hell of a bloody run the past few years. But I know that if I needed him and he needed me, we would hook up. But we telepathically think about each other every so often, and you know, we have evolved into a more distant friendship, but we've got great history. We were joined at a hip at one point and the two of us were wild. Worked all over. It was always great. We had some good runs together. But like everything, there is an evolution. Time flies, and most people, by being forced to be separated recently, the past couple of years, have gotten used to that. And they've moved off in different directions, different trajectories. And I truly don't believe that anyone will ever be the same. And that's where I'm at. I don't believe it. I don't think anyone will ever be the same. I think people are so used to and so accustomed to being in their own houses, in their own little gardens, with their own little, you know, beer gardens and barbecues, that the whole act of visiting people and, you know, going to, one will go and see somebody, that doesn't happen now. The whole act of phoning people, it doesn't happen now. What you do now is you look on your social media, right, and you see that such and such looks like they're doing okay, or they were out at the weekend, posted some nice filtered pictures of their filtered lives. So you jump to the assumption everything's rosy, so there's no point in asking and no point lifting the phone. And that behaviour, you know, grows arms and legs, and before you know it, it's a year's gone by and you haven't phoned them. You've just been liking their photographs, like. Well, a like's not communicating. It's not asking somebody actually, how are you? How are you really? All it is liking a fake filtered picture of somebody's fake filtered life. There's nothing more fake than weddings. You fill a room with people that 90% you'll never see again in your life, and 90% of them don't even like each other, and one half of the room's talking about the other half of the room, and people at the same table hate each other, but for that day they all kid on, they love each other, and they're all rushing to be pictures, people's ex-girlfriends, boyfriends. I used to go out with him, you get a picture with him, you, the next thing, all that crap. And everybody's dressed up in kilts and tweeds and stuff like that to look like the rich people in the world, because for that one day everybody wants to kid on that they are the rich people. And this sounds extremely sceptical on my part, and you know, quite cynical, sorry, cynical's the word, but really weddings are the fakest events on the human calendar. They're so fake and so false that it's unbelievable. You invite 150 guests and you pay to feed them all. You'll never see 145 of them again as long as you live, and they'd fucking step over you in the street the next day. But that is life, that's human beings. Take, and all the rest of it. And yeah, really fake events. When everyone wears they hire their posh clothing for one day, and you know, look at us all looking amazing and all the same and all generic, and our fake named tartans that weren't even a thing in Scotland 500 years ago. Tartan's the biggest scam in Scotland. It's as big a scam as bloody William Wallace. And everybody gets, you know, it's fake everything. It's from the hair to the feet, it's fake. And they employ an extortionate photographer to make them all look even better, and every picture's, I sound terribly cynical, but they're extremely fake events. And sometimes, why have I mentioned weddings? I'm getting to it. I believe they bring out the worst in people. I don't believe at all they bring out the best in people. I think they bring out that for one day people absolutely go off their rockers, get steaming drunk, do things they would never normally do, talk to people that they would never normally talk to, be as two-faced as you can get. They sit and smile and, oh, you're looking amazing, and then they're away drawing them daggers or talking about them in the next table, and it's horrible. And you would only know this if you ever went to a wedding and stayed sober. There you go. And I have. I've been at a wedding sober and sat and people watched, and my ears were like that, like people liking and cuddling and getting photographs taken, and then I could hear them talking and bad mouthing and all that crap goes on at weddings. And I just think to myself, wow, this is madness. Why would you buy someone a drink that you hated or never spoke to for 10 years and never plan to speak to again? But for that one day, we'll all kid on, we love each other, and we'll all get big pictures posing and holding the bride and holding the groom and blah blah blah. That's the worst of people. That is the absolute worst of humanity. Weddings bring people together that should never be in the same room. They should never be sharing food or a table or listening or clapping or enjoying a day together in the same building. But they do, because they're humans, and a majority of them are two-faced reprobates. And they'd smile at you in one breath and take your breath in the next. And maybe tonight, guys, you'll be saying, my God, he's a cynical bugger. Well, you won't get any more real than me today. Let me say that. I will say it as it is. I will never, ever, ever mince my words in any company, in any walk of life. I won't appease anyone. If I don't like you, I just won't speak to you. I won't be ignorant, but I won't make any contact with you whatsoever. I won't even acknowledge you and say hello. Why? Why would we? I wouldn't expect you to say hello to me. I just wouldn't. Why would you want to? Why would you want to be untrue to yourself like that and speak to somebody or sit and share time with somebody that you really didn't like? I don't get it. Just because it's a wedding. They're fake events. They're terribly fake events. And all that they've been turned into are commercial money spinners. You know, people spending 25, 30 grand in a wedding that can't afford to pay their bills. And it's all in tick, and they'll be paying it off for the next 10 years. Instead of whacking that money into a mortgage or into a deposit for something and actually turning it into something, they go and debt themselves up for one single day, paying £7 a drink in some overpriced, jumped up, tarted up hotel somewhere, eating crap microwave meals. Cynical, you better believe it. But on a brighter note, it's late at night. I'm going to do a bit of star watching. That moon's acting all sorts of funky. It's in the wrong place for a start. By now it should be away over here and it's not. Don't really know what's going on with the moon. I think its batteries are running low. Apart from that, guys, the bats are out. The water's getting chilly. I'm going to go and get my usual cup of tea and then get my head down for a wee while. But a bit of a weird conversation tonight, probably. Maybe not by my standards. However, thanks for listening, and I'll appreciate the comments. And if you want to call me a cynical so-and-so, and so be it. I'll be grateful for it anyway, as always. I just thought I'd get that off my chest. Okay? Anyway, have a good night. Have a great day. Done a little bit of fishing with my youngest earlier up the canal. We're going to do another wee bit tomorrow. I was down snorkelling in the sea today. I might go back there tomorrow. And then I'll be heading home in a couple of days. Take it easy, guys.